All right, let's talk about one of the hottest topics in cosmetic medicine right now, the thread lift. You've probably heard about it. It's this idea that you can get a facial lift without going under the knife for major surgery. But what's really going on under your skin to make that happen? Well, we're going to break it all down.
So let's just get right to the big question, right? Are you looking for a little lift, a little rejuvenation, but the idea of a full surgical facelift just feels like way too much? If you're not in your head right now, then you are in exactly the right place. We're about to explore what a thread lift can and, just as importantly, what it can't do for you.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, what even is a thread lift? Then we'll get into who's a good fit for this. After that, we'll dive into the cool part, how the threads actually work. We'll weigh the good against the bad, talk about what recovery looks like, and wrap up with the most crucial part, setting some real, honest expectations. Okay, first up, what is this procedure at its very core? Let's get a handle on the basic concept. You can think of a thread lift as having this awesome 1-2 punch. The first punch, an immediate lift. Your doctor places these specialized medical-grade threads, think tiny little sutures with barbs or cones on them, right under the skin. They literally grip the sagging tissue and pull it up. But here's the second punch, and this is where the long-term magic is. Your body sees these threads and goes, "Whoa, what's this?" and kicks into its natural healing mode. It starts building this amazing scaffold of new collagen all around the threads, which helps to firm and support your skin from the inside out. So now we know what it is, but who is it actually for? And honestly, this is so important because a thread lift is definitely not a one-size-fits-all solution. A fantastic result really comes down to starting with the right person. So let's paint a picture of the perfect candidate. We're talking about someone with mild to maybe moderate skin looseness. You're just starting to see those early jowls, or your cheeks aren't quite as high as they used to be. You want a subtle, refreshed look, not a major overhaul. Now, on the flip side, who isn't a good fit? Well, if there's significant skin laxity, or if the skin is very thick and heavy, the threads just don't have the muscle to get the job done. And the big one, you have to have realistic expectations. This is key.
And what specific problems can a thread lift really tackle? Well, we're talking about things like sagging cheeks and those first signs of jowls. It's great for when the middle of your face starts to look a little flat, or for some minor looseness in the neck, even a brow that's starting to droop a bit. It can also help bring back that sharp to fine jawline and just generally fight back against that overall loss of firmness in the skin. It's all about hitting those early to moderate signs of aging. All right, time to get into the nitty-gritty. How in the world do these little threads actually pull off a lift? Let's look at the tools of the trade and the actual technique that's used. The threads they use these days are pretty brilliant. They're made to be safely absorbed by your body over time. Think of it like having different options. First, you have PDO threads. They're the most common, and their effects last around 6 to 12 months. Then you can level up to PLLA threads, which are even better at firing up that collagen production and can give you results for up to 18 months. And then there's the heavy hitter, PCL threads, which can provide support for as long as 2 years. Your doctor picks the right tool for the job depending on what you need. The actual technique is a really precise 4-step dance. First, the threads are inserted under the skin using a special little tool that's designed to minimize bruising. They're placed along these carefully mapped out lines to create the perfect lift. Second, those little barbs or cones on the thread anchor themselves into your soft tissue. It's like they're grabbing on from underneath. Third, the doctor applies just a bit of gentle tension and bam, you get an immediate lift. You can see it right there. And finally, number 4 is the long game. Your body gets to work building that new collagen network around the threads, which keeps everything looking firm and lifted way after the thread itself has dissolved. Okay, let's get into the really important stuff, a balanced look at the pros and the cons. Every single procedure has them, and it's absolutely essential that you understand both sides of the coin before making any decisions. The benefits are pretty clear and they're pretty compelling. First, it's minimally invasive, no big cuts, no general anesthesia. You get to see that lifting effect right away, which is super satisfying. Plus, you get that long-term collagen boost. The procedure itself is fast, usually done in under an hour. And the downtime? So minimal. Most people are right back to their normal routine the next day. It also plays really nicely with other treatments like fillers or neurotoxins. Now for the other side. Let's talk risks. Starting with the stuff you should pretty much expect. There's going to be some swelling and bruising. That's just part of it. A feeling of tightness or some mild discomfort is also totally normal.
It's also possible to have a little bit of temporary asymmetry while everything settles into place. Sometimes you might be able to feel or even see a thread under the skin at first, and you might see some skin dimpling or puckering, but that almost always smooths itself out in a week or two. And while it's much less common, we have to talk about the more serious potential issues, things like a thread moving out of place or even poking through the skin. Infection is a risk with any procedure that breaks the skin. There's also a small chance of nerve irritation or a hematoma, which is a collection of blood. In rare cases, some skin irregularities could stick around, or a thread might actually need to be removed. This is why it is so critical to go to an experienced, highly qualified provider who knows what they're doing. So, the procedure's over, you're looking in the mirror, now what? Let's walk through the road to recovery and what you can really expect in the hours, days, and weeks that follow. Following the aftercare instructions is everything if you want a great result. The rules are pretty simple. You've got to avoid any tough workouts for about a week. You'll also want to chill on making huge facial movements, so no giant yawns, no chewing on super tough steak for a week or two, and definitely no facials or face massages for a few weeks because you don't want to accidentally move those threads around. And here's a pro tip. Sleep on your back with your head propped up on a few pillows. It really helps with the swelling. So here's a rough timeline of what your healing journey looks like. Right after the procedure, you're going to see that lift, which is awesome, but you'll also have the expected tightness and some swelling. Then, over the next 1 to 2 weeks, things really start to calm down. The swelling and bruising fade, and any of those little skin irregularities begin to smooth out. But the real show starts around the 6 to 12-week mark. That's when your body's collagen production is hitting its peak, and you start to see that beautiful, final, refined result. And just a quick but super important note. While some soreness is normal, you need to call your doctor if you see any signs of infection, like redness that's getting worse, or a fever, or if a thread starts to poke through your skin, or if you have any really severe or worsening pain. Don't wait. And that brings us to our final section, which is honestly the most important part of this whole conversation: realistic results. What can you truly expect to see from a thread lift? I really want to focus on this quote because it says everything you need to know. A thread lift provides, and I quote, subtle to moderate improvement. It's an enhancement, it's a refresh. It is not going to give you the dramatic, life-altering results of a full surgical facelift. And understanding that difference is truly the secret to being happy with your outcome. And you got to remember, this isn't a permanent solution. The threads dissolve, and hey, the clock keeps ticking on the aging process. So the results typically last somewhere between 1 and 2 years. To keep that refreshed look, you'll likely need to come back for another treatment down the road. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. For the right person, a thread lift can be an absolutely fantastic way to get a refreshed, natural-looking boost with hardly any downtime. So the final question is really for you to answer. Is that subtle, natural enhancement the right choice for your goals?